Chinese government questioned the United States-Philippines agreement regarding the exchange of military intelligence. Venezuela's Executive Vice President Delcy Rodriguez revealed that at least 11 people have been arrested in connection with the recent attacks against a facility of the state-owned oil company PDVSA. And in Nicaragua, the 17th China, Latin America and the Caribbean Business Summit, known as CHINA-LAC, is being held in Managua with the purpose of boosting deep economic ties between the nation and the region. Hello and welcome to From the South. I'm Alejandra Garcia from TeleSUR Studios in Caracas, Venezuela. We begin with the news. Stay with us. At least 4 people were killed and 8 others wounded in Lebanon after Israel launched an airstrike on a neighborhood in central Beirut. The attack was the third by the Israeli Air Force on the nation's capital in less than 24 hours. A similar action had been reported on Sunday morning against the headquarters of the Syrian Ba'ath Party in downtown Beirut, in which the head of the Hezbollah's press office, Mohammed Afif, was reported killed. In early October, the Israeli army crossed the so-called Blue Line and launched occasional attacks on the southern Lebanese territory. According to the nation's Ministry of Health, at least 3,481 Lebanese have been killed and nearly 14,800 wounded so far as a result of the Israeli attacks against the Arab country. In Palestine, the Israeli genocide in the Gaza Strip continues after 408 consecutive days, killing nearly 44,000 Palestinians. According to local media, in the last 24 hours, Tel Aviv troops killed at least 76 Palestinian civilians and injured 158 others. The Gazan Health Ministry warns that these figures could be even higher, as many of the victims remain under the rubble that could not be removed. Local health authorities confirmed that the number of Palestinians killed by Israel since October 7, 2023 stands at 43,922, while 198 people have been injured. China hosts the 7th China International Friendship Cities Conference with the participation of more than 700 representatives. Under the slogan, Sharing and Winning Together, Creating the Future, representatives and organizations from some 40 countries are meeting in the Chinese city of Kunming. It is expected that during the meeting, the main forum and the 4 thematic panels will discuss technological innovation, sustainable development, cultural preservation, and infrastructure integration. More than 20 twinning and cooperation agreements between Chinese and foreign cities are expected to be signed during the conference. The Chinese government questioned on Monday the United States-Philippines agreement regarding the exchange of military intelligence. The Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Lin Yan stressed that bilateral cooperation should not be directed against the interest of third countries, nor compromise the peace and stability of the region. The official also assured that the best way to ensure this is to maintain good neighborly relations and adopt a stance of strategic independence. Beijing-Manila relations were destabilized after the Philippine government established an alliance with the United States, which later led to Washington's endorsement of the Philippines' military actions in the South China Sea.
No matter what kind of military agreement is signed, or what kind of defense or security cooperation is undertaken, it must not target any third party or harm the interests of a third party, let alone undermine regional peace or exacerbate regional tensions. The only proven way to safeguard national peace is to prevent the outbreak of armed conflict.
And now we have a short break coming up, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates and more. We'll be right back, stay with us. Welcome back. On Monday, the governments of Sweden and Finland sent leaflets to citizens urging them to prepare for the possibility of war. The two countries abandoned decades of military non-alignment to join NATO after Russia's special operation in Ukraine in 2022. Since the date, Sweden has repeatedly urged its population to prepare mentally and logistically for the possibility of war. A booklet distributed by the Swedish Civil Contingencies Agency brings together advice on how to prepare for emergencies such as war, natural disasters or cyber attacks. Meanwhile, Finland, which shares a 1,340-kilometer border with Russia, also launched a website on Monday with the advice on how to prepare for different types of crises, including war. And after Washington authorized Kyiv to use long-range weapons against military targets inside Russia, the Chinese government reiterated its call for a peaceful solution to the Ukrainian war.
China's position on the Ukraine issue is consistent and clear. An early ceasefire and a political solution serve the interests of all parties. The most urgent thing is to cool down the regional situation as soon as possible. China has always encouraged and supported all efforts conducive to a peaceful resolution of the crisis and is willing to continue to play a constructive role in the political resolution of the Ukraine crisis in its own way.
Belize speeds up its recovery efforts to return the nation's socio-economic life to normal after the government lifted the state of emergency triggered by the passage of Tropical Depression Sara. The authorities deployed cleaning brigades in the communities and roads affected by floods to collect debris and reactivate traffic as soon as possible. On the other hand, Prime Minister John Briceño praised the responsibility and discipline of the population during the emergency, which helped prevent human losses during and after the event. The Prime Minister said, though, that Sara had left significant economic damage and announced the beginning of a detailed assessment in order to provide assistance to farmers, families and other sectors affected by the rains and floods. In Honduras, the government is advancing in recovery efforts after Tropical Storm Sara, which left at least 2 deaths and over 123,000 affected people due to flooded communities. Authorities reported that since Sunday there have been over 8,000 evacuees as a precaution in the hit areas. In addition, they revealed that rising rivers forced the closure of several paramount bridges that communicate the capital with other cities to avoid possible disasters. Likewise, they declared the capital to be on maximum alert for current downpours across all Central America. In El Salvador, heavy rains persist due to the remnants of Tropical Depression Sara, and rainfall is expected to continue during the week. The Ministry of Environment and Natural Resources informed that rains and storm will continue while alerts for possible landslides and flood increase. The remnants of Tropical Depression Sara and the Intertropical Convergence Zone will cause adverse weather conditions, especially in the coastal area and volcanic mountain range during the morning and afternoon, although a decrease is expected in the evening hours. Tropical Depression Sara, despite indirectly affecting El Salvador, caused damage to infrastructure, overflowing rivers, flooding in agricultural lands, and some evacuees are reported. Meanwhile, Mexican meteorological authorities informed that tropical depression Sara has downgraded to a low-pressure system off the coast of Campeche. However, heavy rains will continue in the nation for at least 24 hours. The National Meteorological Service detailed that Sara's cloud bands will cause heavy rains in the state of Chiapas, Campeche, and Quintana Roo. In this regard, the government urged the Mexican population to remain indoors and to be informed through the authorized media. Ecuador has declared a 60-day state of emergency following the severe drought and unprecedented wildfires that have been affecting the country in the last few weeks. According to the nation's Environment Minister Inés Manzano, the state of emergency will allow the government to mobilize funds and send more people to help fight the fires. The government's communications office informed that there are 13 active wildfires which have primarily affected the Azuay and Loja provinces in southern Ecuador, while another 9 blazes have recently been brought under control. Since October, the South American nation is experiencing power cuts of up to 14 hours a day due to the insufficient water levels in the hydroelectric dams, which account for over 70% of the country's power generation. We have a second short break coming up, but before we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at TeleSUR English, there you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell to stay up to date on the world's most recent events. Final short break, don't go away.
El mundo se mueve constantemente y todos los días
Welcome back to From the South. Venezuela's Vice President Delcy Rodriguez revealed that at least 11 people have been arrested in connection with the recent attacks against a facility of the state-owned oil company PDVSA. In this regard, Rodriguez informed that a series of terrorist attacks have been plotted against the country, among them one that took place on Sunday, November 10th, when some individuals threw a grenade at an oil production field in Zulia to prevent the fuel production. The Vice President also informed about a second terrorist attack that occurred on November 11th in the gas pipeline of the Muscar operating complex in Monagas state, which caused great damage to the physical structure of the key complex, which generates more than 80% of the country's gas production.
Responsibility had already been determined. 11 people responsible for this criminal act have been arrested and are under investigation. There is a foreigner on the run. He left the country the same day he carried out this fraudulent maneuver that caused the explosion in this gas distribution center of the country.
In this context, Vice President Delcy Rodriguez also assured that the attack did not affect the crude going to Paraguaná refinery.
Exactly 1 week ago, on Sunday, at 7:30 in the morning, Sunday the 10th of November, 7:30 in the morning, a grenade was thrown in the north dock of the state of Zulia in an oil and gas production field, which was intended to prevent the supply of the diet to the Paraguaná refinery complex for the production of fuel. Fortunately, thanks to the security mechanism in place to prevent terrorist attacks and destabilization actions, this device did not detonate. It did not affect the diet, the crude oil, the gas that goes to the Paraguaná refinery.
During an exclusive interview for information multi-platform TeleSUR, Venezuelan Vice President of Planning Ricardo Menéndez explained that the Congress of this historical bloc addressed the meaning of fascism, contrasting this violent ideology with the concept of homeland.
Each assembly had 3 moments from the point of view of its development. The first moment, a moment of reflection, a political moment from the point of view of what the present context means, and the questions began with a personal perspective. Each one of the people who spoke in the assemblies were asked how they saw fascism on July 29th, how they experienced it, how the fascist wave that suffered our country was expressed in their neighborhood, in their communities, and those personal experiences had the most diverse reactions in each one of these assemblies. We had reactions of tears, reactions of fear, reactions after looking at the fangs of fascism in their neighborhood, of remembering how people were thrown to death from second floors in communities of the Lara state, or how a person, simply for thinking differently or for being a Chavista in the state of Bolivar, had a stake driven through his heart. And from those personal experiences of seeing the face of fascism, it was possible to form a collective vision about what fascism means and the contrast between fascism and homeland.
In Peru, a recent datum survey revealed that the rejection of President Dina Boluarte reached a record low for her administration. Her approval fell to 3%. In spite of having finished leading the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Summit, her disapproval has reached 94%, the highest since she took office 1 year and 11 months ago, and with it becoming the most disapproved president at international level. The study carried out from November 7th to 11th reveals a progressive increase in citizens' disapproval of the head of state, which went from 91% in August and September to 92% in October, and which rose 2 more points in the last weeks. In addition, it is revealed that the rejection of the government is consistent in all socioeconomic sectors. In Brazil, the G20 summit kicked off amid international divisions due to sanction policies, Israeli aggressions in the Middle East, and the climate crisis. World leaders gathered in the city of Rio de Janeiro for the G20 summit, which runs until November 19th. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva delivered the opening remarks, introducing the proposed Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, an initiative that seeks to eradicate these issues at the global level. Those present at the event will discuss a measure that could impose a tax on the countries with the highest incomes on the planet, with the aim of protecting the environment. They are also expected to discuss global conflicts, among them the Israeli aggression against Gaza. In Nicaragua, the 17th China-Latin America and the Caribbean Business Summit, known as CHINA-LAC, is being held in Managua with the purpose of boosting deep economic ties between that nation and the region. The meeting, under the slogan "Joining Forces, Creating Opportunities, New Horizons for China and Latin America and the Caribbean," brings together more than 220 participants representing 29 countries, as well as 500 Chinese and Nicaraguan entrepreneurs. The event also includes a promotional session of the second international exhibition of China's supply chain. At the summit, businessmen discussed international trade trends, opportunities for the strategic relationship between China and Latin America, as well as new trade roadmaps.
We will continue to work hand in hand with you, promoting cooperation, promoting multipolarity, and working against hegemonism. Because this world must be shared by all. Development must be shared by all. And it is through trade and investment that we can build these bridges between peoples. So I wish you all success in this summit and the best results for all participating companies. And we reiterate our invitation to work in Nicaragua and from Nicaragua with a regional vision. And we express our gratitude to the Chinese government for continuing to promote this cooperation for the benefit of all. Thank you very much.
The Vice President of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, Yang Shen, reiterated the support of the government of the Asian giant for the economic development of the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean.
China has maintained for many years its position as the second largest trading partner of Latin America and the Caribbean. In 2023, bilateral trade surpassed $489 billion. Latin America and the Caribbean have become the second largest destination for foreign investments by Chinese companies. 22 countries in the region have signed agreements to jointly build the Belt and Road Initiative. That includes the port of Chanc in Peru. We are steadily advancing and promoting the economic and social development of the region. Ladies, gentlemen, and friends, both China and Latin America are developing countries and emerging economies that are at a crucial stage of development and revitalization. China has always valued the development of relations with the region, considering the countries of Latin America and the Caribbean as key partners in consolidating unity and promoting South-South cooperation.
And we have come to the end of this news brief, but you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net and join us on social media. We are on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok as well. For TeleSUR English, I'm Alejandra Garcia. Thank you for watching.